But one of the tips I would like to share is when you're measuring yourself, or if you're measuring someone else, ensure the person or yourself wears a fitted dress, just so that you're able to see the person's shape properly, and you will know where to take your measurements when you are doing so. For this measurement section, I'm going to be using this mannequin for the measurement, just so that I am able to show you all the parts I want you to show very clearly. So the first thing I like to measure is the shoulder. So I'll turn this backward and show you. So what you do is to try to identify where the shoulder and the armhole meet. I'm going to measure from one tip of the shoulder to the other one. So ensure your tape rule sits straight like this. So mine is 13 inches, and that is it for the shoulders. The next thing I'm going to be measuring is the bust area. The bust area is usually measured around the fullest part of the bust. So that is why it is advisable that when your client is coming for fitting, or even if you are measuring yourself, ensure to wear like fitted dresses, so it's easier for you to see the person's shape very well. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my bust. This is a little slippery because there's no cloth on this mannequin. This is what mine is giving, about 34 inches. And one thing you must ensure to do is to put one finger. Let me see if I can hold that. So ensure that when you're measuring, there's one finger in between your tape rule and the person's body. I'll try and do that on myself. So you ensure that you put a finger. You ensure that you put a finger in between your body and your tape rule. That will create like a little ease around your measurement, so it does not come out too tight. Then one other thing that you must take note of is the back. Ensure that when you're taking your measurement, your tape rule is on the same level ground. Can you see front and back? Your tape rule should be straight at the back. I cannot see my back now, but yeah, I can feel it a little. Ensure that it is straight all the way around. Do you understand? So you don't have something like this when you're measuring. If you have something like this, you most likely end up with a false measurement. So then we'll move on to the waist. The waist is one of the most important reasons why your client, or when you're measuring yourself, you should wear a fitted dress. You can see that I can see this shape without having to stress. Imagine if there was a boo-boo on this mannequin or on the person you're trying to measure. It might be difficult for you to get the accurate measurement. So I'm going to show you how to measure your waist. You find the slimmest part. You are going to find the slimmest part of the person's waist, except for body types where the stomach is probably like very large. Most times our body is shaped such that the waist to be the slimmest part of the body. So you try to identify where the slimmest part is and you measure that. Like I did for the bust, ensure that you put one finger in between the person's body and your measurement, and also ensure that the front and the back are the same level like we did for the bust. Ensure that everything is on the same level, both front and back. But one tip I would like to share is, if we are working with the body type where the stomach area is like very big, it's difficult for you to identify where the waistline is. Usually most people's waist is about 2 inches above the navel, but at the same time, we have different body types. The best is for you to be able to identify the person's natural waist. But if you cannot, you can ask the person to touch their belly button. Try to use your eyes to calculate where 2 inches above the belly button can be and measure it. That's for people who have like very round stomach area. So for example, this is like this mannequin's navel area. So you use your eyes to calculate where 2 inches will likely be. So it is around here. Can you see? Can you see this? This is almost at the same point where the waist is. So the next thing we're going to measure is going to be the hips. And when you're measuring the hips, try to find the fullest part of the hip. For this mannequin, you can see that this area is like the fullest part. So try and figure out where the fullest part is. Then you measure around it like this. Measure around it like this. Also ensuring, see, this is not on a level ground, so I'm trying to push everything to be on the same level ground. So for my mannequin is about 40 inches. When you're also measuring, ensure that for the bust, the waist and the hip, ensure that there's always one finger in between your measurement tape and the person's body. So the next thing we're going to measure is going to be from the shoulder to the half length. And one thing I like to do most times is you can tie something. You see this tiny part of the waist, the natural waistline. You can get a rope and tie it around yourself or the person that you are measuring. It helps you to be able to get like the exact measurement you are looking for. Of course, over time, when you do this over and over again, you might not need this process anymore. But when you are just beginning, try to tie a rope around the person's waist like so. Then you take your measurement. You come to the tip of the shoulder here. Come across your bust area. Let this measurement, not this way, not this way. Let it come over your bust like this and come down. So for mannequin, it is 17 inches. Let me try if I come this way. You see, this is 16 inches. So if you measure this way, you might have a shortage. Let me come this way. You see, this way is 15 inches. So ensure that you measure from here, from the tip of your neck across over your bust like this. Sorry about that. And come down here. That is 17 inches. Then you come to the back. The front half length is usually longer than the back half length for most people, except for rare occasion. So this is not on a level ground. I'll try to balance that. So we're going to come to the tip of your shoulder again and mark this down. Can you see? This is 13.5. So for my mannequin, the back is shorter than the front by 3.5 inches. That is why it's important for you to measure both front and the back. So that is the back half length. Then while this tape is still there, we're going to measure the hip point. The hip point is basically the distance between the waist and the fullest part of your hip. So you need to also keep this on before you take your measurement. So judging from your side, you can see where the tiniest part of your waist is and the fullest part of your hip. So you're going to bring your tape rule here and try to figure out where the fullest part of your hip is. In this mannequin's case, it is 10.5. So you're going to measure that from here to the fullest part of your hip. One of the advantages of measuring the waist to the hip point is you also do not need the blouse length of the person anymore. Most times, the distance between your shoulder to your hip point is the length of your blouse. So as we proceed, you will understand more what I mean by this. The next one we're going to measure is from your shoulder to your bust point. That's your nipple area. You measure from the tip of your neckline here to your bust point. So for this mannequin, it is 10 inches. The next thing we're going to measure is your shoulder to your under bust measurement. So you come to the tip of your shoulder and mark like this. For my mannequin, it is 13.5, but it is advisable that after taking your measurement, you add 0.5. So when you are writing down, in this situation where I mark 13.5, I'm going to write down 14 inches. This is just so that you can create some ease around your underbust. You can decide to use your 13.5. It is okay. I think I've used my exact underbust a lot, but sometimes just so that you don't have any issues around the underbust and to create that ease, you can add 0.5 to your underbust measurement. Then the next thing we're going to measure is the nipple to nipple measurement. So you try to find the nipple of your customer. You can ask them to touch around their nipple. So you measure from one nipple to the other one. For my mannequin, it is 6.25. And you're going to take note of that. That is nipple to nipple measurement. The next thing we're going to measure is your sleeve. So you come to the tip of your shoulder here and measure as long as the person wants. So from the tip of the shoulder, you measure. If you're measuring long sleeve, for me, I advise that when you're bringing your measurement, when you get to the elbow area, you stop like this, hold it down with one hand, and continue measuring from there. Most times you're likely to get a more accurate measurement. Let me repeat that. You measure from here. You start from the tip of your shoulder. You come down to your elbow. You stop there. You use one hand to hold it. Then you continue till you get to the end of, or to the desired length. Yeah. If you're making short sleeve, just come from here and measure until the person is comfortable with what you are measuring. And the last but not the least will be the length of your dress. This one, it depends on what you are making really. The tip is to put your measurement at the tip of your neckline. Ensure that whenever you're measuring your length measurements, your tape goes over your bust. Continue like that until the person is comfortable with what you are measuring. Yeah. So that's basically it on our measurement taking. If you have any questions, please do let me know, and I will see you in the next one.